Want to get rid of the president? Awesome. First, find an
impeachable offense.
What's an impeachable offense? Treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Okay, so what's other high crimes and misdemeanors? Nobody knows. Some people say it means bad things only people in high office can do, like misusing public assets or dereliction of duty or getting a Hummer under the Resolute desk. Others say it doesn't mean minor everyday criminal behavior, just really bad criminal behavior, like lying under oath about getting a Hummer under the Resolute desk. Others say it's any crime or misdemeanor at all, even if it has nothing to do with their position of power. Did you steal that pen from work? Petty theft is a misdemeanor. You are no longer president. Government officials have been impeached for submitting false expense reports, lying under oath, even showing up to work drunk. It's a pretty wide net. Of course, this is the highest office in the land we're talking about, and considering all the shit presidents have done without being impeached, it's a pretty high bar. So to sum up, it's a wide net with a high bar. So once you have an
impeachable offense,
get a majority of the House to vote for it and then go to trial in the Senate. Call witnesses, present evidence. It's pretty much like a normal court case, except the judge is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the prosecuting attorneys are members of the House, and it takes place in the frickin' Senate. Then after a couple months of the highest rated programming in C-SPAN history, the senators vote. And if 67 senators find the president guilty, he's gone. But what if there was another way, without all that messy law and order stuff? The Vice President and a majority of the Cabinet can invoke the 25th Amendment and present a written declaration to Congress that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Okay, what does that mean? Well, in the past, it's been used for things like, hey, I'm getting a colonoscopy, can you cover for me for a few hours? But now some people want it to mean, I just think this guy's an asshat. Regardless of the rationale, once those articles are invoked, the magic wand is waved and the President is immediately stripped of power. No trial, no witnesses, no evidence, no votes. Just gone. Of course, the President is going to say, hey, I'm totally fit for office, get out of my chair. But if the Vice President won't budge, then it goes back to Congress, which will have 3 weeks to decide who gets to run things. This time, though, you need 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House, or maybe it's 2/3 of the Senate and the House. Nobody really knows because it's never happened before, and it'll probably end up going to the Supreme Court anyway. Regardless, if enough of them agree that the President is an asshat or whatever, the Vice President stays put and the President is never heard from again. Or, more likely, he goes on Twitter and says this was an extrajudicial coup by Washington insiders and starts a new civil war, only this time with bigger guns and planes and bombs and stuff. So maybe we shouldn't decide to get rid of the president just because we hate them and then afterwards figure out how to pretend it's the law.